Anthony Hartwig here with you, and we have another volleyball season preview as we get closer and closer to the fall sports season starting. We go to Brookfield and talk to the head coach of the Warriors, Andrea Grimm. Coach, thank you so much for coming on talking to us about your program.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me as always.
So everyone's excited about volleyball at Brookfield. We know that. But before we get started about talking about all the things that are going to happen this year, what are some lessons that you think the returning players can learn from last year's experience when you take all everything that happened a year ago with you guys?
The biggest one I would say is starting with high energy. It seemed like we always got off to a slow start, and then by the time that we got rolling, it was almost like the hole was too big to dig. So just staying high energy from start into middle to finish the whole entire time versus trying to have to dig that hole.
Now, obviously, no one wants to fall into those kind of holes, but at least as a coach, you're sitting there thinking the energy is there. We just have to find a way to channel it earlier.
Yeah.
What kind of is that like an advantage going into this summer, knowing that like, hey, we have what it takes to compete. We just have to bring it out a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I think this year the leadership roles are and throughout multiple different grades. I mean, like obviously our seniors are taking that main role of leadership, but we have other players that have stepped up in different ways that kind of help, reinforce that like, hey, we got this, we're doing fine, we can do this, and we just push through. And it's actually really helping and kind of starting us off at a better pace, and that way we don't have to play catch up the whole time.
So let's start talking about those leaders in this roster. Who are some people that you've already seen in these summer months kind of step up and you know they're going to be vocal and emotional leaders of this team?
All of our seniors, they've all played. I've coached them pretty much their whole career. Um, Riley Bird, she's our setter. The significance in her vocal game has really, really improved, and she's being a lot more aware of what's going on the court, and she's, making decisions and she's, communicating like, hey, you got to do this. Hey, you got to go here. Sarah Lindholm and Alexia Baker, they play next to each other most of the time, and their defensive and supporting roles for the girls that are in front row when they're backing them up have been huge. I mean, the comments that I hear them making on the court couldn't be better. Brookie Montgomery, I mean, when she has something great, she will get you so amped up for the rest of the game that her energy, you can just feed off of it. And then we have, some younger players. Erin Brina, she makes big plays, and, she kind of brings that out of us. And then a couple younger players, Elena Boyce, she knows how to lead, and she knows how to, take on that role to support those seniors too.
Now that you've had some stability in this program, if you've been there for a couple of years now, are you starting to see the culture and the leadership kind of mold into what you wanted it to be when you took over this job?
It has been a stepping stone progress this year, just because we have a lot of depth. Before, we didn't have a whole lot of depth in all of the positions that we had. We were a little bit limited as far as bench goes, because all the girls were new, they weren't quite ready, the pace was a little fast, so they were kind of struggling. And this year I feel like everybody's kind of stepped into that. And it's funny to see because the pace changed so dramatically, but they just, once they saw one play, they were just right on it. And I think from there they kind of just took off, and it's almost like they've been doing it the whole time.
When you talk about the younger players, especially the incoming freshmen, they've gone through your program in junior high, your coaches that you've put in place there. So now you're getting players that are young that also kind of understand the way you do things, because you've obviously had coaches kind of mirror the way you kind of like to do things on the varsity level. So what kind of a benefit is that now to be able to bring on younger players and not have to maybe take the time to establish this is the way I want things done, because you've had coaches kind of set them up for that now in the last 2 years?
It makes a huge difference, and I don't think people realize it, but once they're comfortable with a system, it's very easy for them to just step right into that system that's already in place. It's really hard to, teach that as a freshman coming in and have them get the pace and have them get the defense and all of those things. So it is a huge help that we have such a supportive staff and understands the goals and understands what we're trying to do here.
You play in one of the toughest conferences in the area. There's definitely no shortage of tough volleyball when you talk about the MVAC. Great tier. Talk about the conference this year and what you guys think you can do in it.
The conference is a little different because we have a lot of players that are leaving, seniors graduating, Champion lost Kennedy, Crestview lost Abby. I mean, she's doing fantastic things, but our competition's a little bit different now because we've seen those players year after year, and now we're going to get their new players. So it's almost kind of a fresh start for all of us. But I know it's always going to be a battle. It's always going to be something that we have to come prepared for because, the LeBrays, the Champions, the Crestviews, the Garfields, if we don't come out with our A game right from the beginning, we might have some problems, but we'll definitely bring it to them.
Then when you go outside of the conference and you have games that that are just for getting you guys ready for tournament time and setting you guys up for success, who are some teams that pop up outside of the MVAC that you're really excited to kind of test yourself against?
We always have Ursuline our first game, and for me, that's always like a tone setter because they're such a great program. They're such a great team. They have such an amazing, group of girls every single year. So for me, that's kind of like our first test, like is our hustle there? Is our teamwork there? Is all of that there? And then we go on to play Badger, and that's always a tough game. It's normally neck and neck there. And we have Maplewood and, Springfield, who's always tough with their hitters. So, each of them challenges us in different ways. So Ursuline normally gets us started and sets the tone for how we're going to be in.
Baptism by fire with your team, right? We're not wasting any time. Here's a test right off the jump.
Yes.
When you talk about that kind of thing, some coaches might schedule some teams that they think they can get some easy wins to start the season, but to be able to schedule a team in Ursuline that is going to really battle test you right off the jump. Obviously, that's important to you because you've been doing it for a while. Why is that so important to have a really big test right in the first game of the season?
I think it helps the girls understand just how much talent they have and how far they can go, having that big of a challenge up front. When you start off with teams that you kind of know, like this is going to be difficult, but that you can probably beat those games. Those are games that don't really get the mindset right. When you have a challenge like Ursuline and Badger, first thing, it's like, okay, this is serious. We got to get going. And then it shows them what they can do.
You're about to go into the month of August where you'll have a couple of weeks before that first game of the season. What are some of the coaching staff's goals and things you want accomplished in the scrimmages and practices now that they're mandatory before that first game of the season?
I think just defensive preparedness. Our hustle is a lot better this year, but the thing that we kind of struggled in years past was having blockers all the way around. So just having that defense and getting touches on those hard hits that we know are coming, and then being able to pick those balls up off the block, or even if they're not off the block, getting those balls up and getting them into play. That's something that we've really been focusing on. That's something that we really have put a lot of time into.
Before we talk about your awesome coaching staff, I wanted to know one key strength of your team, one thing you think you'll be able to lean on all season, and this part of the game is going to be locked down for Brookfield.
Our intelligence level when it comes to, panic plays where we know we need to get, a quick point to start building back up. We are very smart with placement when it comes to that. We know this is a situation and we're in. We're not going to back down here, and we know what play that needs to be made. And they are very much aware. Most of the time, I don't even have to tell them. They see the spots. They know what to do. They know who to use. So I think that is really to our advantage.
Awareness is a luxury that not every high school volleyball coach has. So that's going to be real fun to watch Brookfield and that court awareness that they have. Coach, let's talk about the coaching staff that probably is responsible for a lot of that awareness and being able to teach so well. I know you do a great job, but you have people with you that obviously help you build this Brookfield program from what it is. So talk about your staff behind you and the people that you wouldn't be able to have the success you have without.
It starts in our middle school. Becca Litz and Chris Vondrick, they've been with us for a few years now, and they do such an amazing job of just getting the girls to fall in love with the game and know the basics of it, and just really show them that this is one of the funnest games that you can play, and you can really excel at it if you just put in that effort. And they make it really fun for the girls, so it's easy for them to learn, and they just get hooked. And then I have Madison Ferrillo. She is my JV coach. She has a wealth of knowledge. She played. She knows exactly what the game is. She played for Brookfield. She knows the program and all of the things that come with that. And we have Tara Lee Johnson. She also played with Brookfield. I think I mentioned her before last year. She was my setter. So the cohesiveness that we have together and the understanding is, we all finish each other's sentences. We're about to say the same thing every single time we make an adjustment. So it's really just nice to have a coaching staff that understands the needs, and you don't have to worry about, them not having that conversation because they know exactly what it is.
The fans are definitely excited for the season. When is the first game and the first chance they can come out to watch you guys play?
So we play Ursuline the 16th. Our first home game is the 20th against Badger. And then we go conference on, I believe it is at Champion that following week on the 21st. So any of those games are going to be great games to come watch. I recommend that people come and see because we got a lot of stuff to show off this year.
Just so everyone knows, that 16th is the first day of the season for the OHSA. So Brookfield not wasting any time at all. First day, let's go. Let's get that game in.
Yep.
Coach, thank you so much for coming on, talking to us about your program. We're so excited for Brookfield Volleyball getting out and covering you guys. And we'll talk to you in real soon.
Yep, thanks.